Kyle Cease, with everything seemingly broken or falling apart in the world today, how do we still find happiness and peace?
Everything that you can perceive that is broken is something that can break, which means it's not you. The amount of clients that I get that say, I work 60 hours a week and I can barely pay the bills. And I'm like, that's because you're working on force and not frequency. And empaths have this one issue, which is I have to do it all myself. I'm here to hold up this person. I'm here to hold up that person. And in this time, the character that does it all themselves is collapsing. So more and more, one of the greatest things I offer empaths that they can say in this time is,
are you ready to shine? Shine bright. Woo-hoo! Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Uriel, higher self, higher team, and all angels, guides, and light workers here for our highest good and the highest good of all. Please help me to help Kyle today. Please help me to supercharge Kyle with energy today. Please help us to shift consciousness today and to help all of humanity today for our highest good, for the highest good of all, or something even better. Woohoo! Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've wondered who you really are at the deepest soul level and how to traverse the world from here, then do we have the Kyle Cease Evolve Out Loud show for you. Today, I'll be speaking with Kyle Cease, former #1 ranking comedian, New York Times bestselling author, and transformational teacher, coach, and leader. And that's just what I want to talk with him about who you really are, your true soul journey, and how to live from a higher level, especially with everything going on in the world today. So welcome back to the show, Kyle. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to shine, my brother. I'm happy to see you, Michael Sandler.
Kyle Cease, is the universe broken?
No, not at all. Nothing's broken. Everything that you can perceive that is broken is something that can break, which means it's not you. So very often I'll have clients that say, I'm realizing I just feel like I'm broken. I'm like, awesome. An egoic construct that had to hold up everything is finally broken, and it's broken closer and closer into what you truly are. And it still needs to be heard, it needs to be loved, but there's no such thing. The only thing that can break is something that isn't you.
Okay, so if we go a little bit of, would it be philosophy? If A plus B then equals C, and if we go down that rabbit hole, if you're saying that only things that are not you can break, or is what you're really saying is we are the universe?
I guess so, because so many things can fall off. You can have a belief fall off. You can have a story about you that you're unworthy, all kinds of stuff. Just the character that's confused or lost, the one who feels everything's out to get them. Those things can die and you'll still be here, right? Those stories can die, they can change. And so you start to realize I must not be that story, that I'm limited, that I'm unloved, that I'm not wanted, or I must not be the story of incompleteness. Whatever it is, it can fall off. So whenever you feel a panic or fear, it's just an old story that you needed to protect yourself when you were a child collapsing. But the crazy thing is the more you connect to the now, you realize it's collapsing into you. It just starts to dissolve and it freaks out, and it's really just scared to feel the same feelings it felt when it was a kid. And the character that's falling apart was usually a character that you created to not feel a specific trauma.
We spoke briefly before off air, and we spoke about all of the changes going on in your existence right now, all of the changes going on in my existence right now as well. And I wanted to say on air, you're a hero. You are truly going through the hero's journey with the number of things that you're changing at once. And to me, the egoic self, the egoic construct, what is it? 1980 song, "To Freak" by Lashik. The egoic mind wants to go nuts with this. But the reason I'm calling you a hero is you're facing this all at once because unconsciously, subconsciously, however we want to put it, you are freeing yourself here. You are freeing yourself by looking at all of these things at the same time to really, in a sense, shake yourself to the core, to shake loose that which is not you, so that you can play a higher level game.
Yes. Well, it's a weird thing because there's sentences that our egos say, and I'm a big fan of the ego. I'm not saying we're only here to obliterate it. This is not against the ego, but it's really interesting because there's things our egos say, like, I feel like I'm unworthy. I feel like I'm not enough, or I can't handle this. And the weird thing that we don't understand is it's right. It isn't enough compared to where you're going. In other words, we are rising in vibration and we are moving into a place that is so miraculous. And one of the reasons we feel a lot of times in this time like we're dying or falling apart is because aspects of ourself that we created to protect ourselves from feeling pain when we were kids are no longer useful. So when they say, I feel like I'm unwanted, it's because actually we're moving to a frequency where we don't need you. We love you. We're grateful for you. You can sit on my lap and watch as I go up in frequency. But yes, you are unwanted. You are not enough. You are, and that's okay. It's just allow yourself to be seen and appreciated, and understand that we right now are moving up in vibration and we can't help it. And a lot of times we try to prevent it. We try to do as many distracting, addictive things as possible so we don't have to look at it. But we now notice even that doesn't work. People will be like, even if I drink or overeat, I still feel it's like it's not hiding it now. It's coming to light. So we're moving up in frequency into a place where we're unconsciously getting that we're whole. But right now, all it can feel like is a lot of death and fall apart because what you thought you were is collapsing. And people get scared about that because they like to say things like, I don't know who I am without this. And the offer I always have is actually, you don't know who you are without it. In other words, like, rephrase that. Maybe I phrased that wrong, but like, you're about to discover who you are. And most people think the way I had it was I knew who I was with this, and now I don't know. And it's like, actually, that was a concept that was here protecting you because you did not have the access point to transcend the pain in your body. So it's not you that's going, right? It's a character. So more and more, the way to let that happen is to get very, very, very present.
So I wrote a newsletter to people this morning, my daily woohoo newsletter. And I said, it's just a short and sweet newsletter that today's energy is about short and sweet. What can you do to not drive, to not push, to not drive, to not strive, but to just allow it to come to you? Because what you're really talking about is a very high level of, dare I say, it's a dangerous word to use in a sense, surrender. You're not surrendering, meaning you give up on existence or give up on whatever is meaningful to you, but you give up trying to push and do it all yourself, and you allow in kind of, we've both been there with kids, to the bouncy castle. We allow into the inflatable cushion that's there to catch us and then to help us for something more.
Yes. Yes, it's weird how we mistake surrender as giving up. I think to the ego, that's what it is. But honestly, what we want to surrender in a way is the one that has to do it all, the one that's trying to hold everything up, the one that is scared that it'll look bad, the one, all we're surrendering is everything that deep down we truly can't control. And people are scared to, but they forget, well, when you try to control everything, that doesn't work either. I mean, the amount of clients that I get that say, I work 60 hours a week and I can barely pay the bills. And I'm like, that's because you're working on force and not frequency. You're like, do you notice you're saying you're working 60 hours a week and it's not working? Maybe that's actually the problem, right? You're not in surrender. You're in plate spinning energy, which is what the ego is about. The ego is not about thriving. It's about surviving. And so the ego, it's almost like, sometimes I make this mistake, but I really often have my phone. I bet right now it's at 5%, right? My battery is probably at 5%. And usually I'll charge it up to 10 or 20%. And I'm like, so I have this place where the phone sits in between 5 and 20%. So it's so funny because it's almost like in that realm, the ego is controlling the phone, in that it's not here to fill it up and thrive. It's just here to keep it from dying. But it also loses its job if the battery's all the way full. So the ego goes, we'll just keep it around 5% so that it doesn't die, but also isn't full.
Which also, and I just checked my phone because usually I have it on quiet mode. but I had been texting with you beforehand, so I didn't. So I just put it on airplane mode there, and I'm at 8%. And what it means when my battery is down on the phone is I get to look at myself. Am I putting out too much energy? The battery may be a reflection in my case, and everything around me. If we have the internet stops working, everything bogs down, the car's without fuel or whatever, I'm going, wait a second. Is that outer reflection of the universe actually an inner reflection of what's going on in here?
And don't you, this sounds terrible, but don't you have a part of you that goes, okay, the internet goes out, the cars all go out, everything.
Woohoo!
Do you feel a sense of relief?
it's
That's that's an interesting thing because there is a feeling of like, oh, we all don't have to do for a minute. We're all free,
it's
right?
it's raining here. It's dreary. It's cold. I'm in northern Vermont. I'm, stone's throw from Canada. Although I'm still swimming in this water, and God, I love it. But I'm not going out on my normal training. I'm not doing all the things outdoors that I would normally do. That's the short and sweet. It's a slumbery day, a day to be with, well, dear friends like yourself, and be with me. Isn't that the greatest thing in the world? It sounds so egoic, doesn't it? Isn't it the greatest thing in the world? I get to spend the day with me, certainly my loved ones.
Doesn't sound egoic at all. In fact, I would also call it being with God. You get to be with the now, you get to be with the universe, you get to hear your thoughts. Yesterday, my incredible, beautiful fiance Amber had a major revelation that we ended up talking about on our membership site last night. It was really amazing because usually Amber, like, I love Amber with me everywhere we go. I love doing everything with her. She's here even. Like she's watching the podcast. She's right
Hi,
here.
Amber. I would put you on camera, but I don't mean to. But at the end, please, I
Okay,
got to
she'll
give you
come
a
in
big
at the
hug.
end. Yeah, because she's the most amazing, beautiful woman ever, and everyone should see her. I feel like it's a disservice to people not to see this
All
amazing.
right. Well, come on, camera. We're going to put you in
Okay, come
pressure.
on
And Kyle,
camera.
you're going to get in trouble for this afterwards.
Yeah, okay. But I do think she's magical. So why don't you come and say hi? So
Hi,
there.
Amber. Good to see you
So
again.
good to see you always.
So my amazing daughter Vivi, who's not here, so I can't bring her on too, but she said, "Daddy, can we go for a walk yesterday?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said to Amber, "Do you want to go?" And Amber really thought about it for a second. And she said later that she could feel between what she felt she should do and what her highest was. And the should do is much more like, I don't want to let anyone down. I should go. We could all be together. But something in her, in the higher vibration, was like, just stay here. And she stayed here and looked through a book and meditated deeply. And Vivi and I, my daughter, we went for a walk. And when we came back, guess what? Amber was weirdly completely resourced, connected, happy, and rejuvenated. And when we walked in the door, Vivi went and connected with Amber, and Amber was just in bliss. And it was an interesting revelation that we could have had Amber for twice as long, less resourced, or she cuts her time in half and we get her whole on the other half, right? And that right there is like why vibration is more important than time. Like people, I'm going to spend all day with you. Well, is it quality? Are you resourced? Are you exhausted? Are you doing it begrudgingly? Are you upset with like, are you making yourself force yourself to do it? Well, because trust me, hanging out in that frequency might not be the best use of you.
Ooh, so I'm going to call this, forgive me at the moment, the 60-hour Amber. Because if Amber is working 60 hours, like the person that you were mentioning earlier, the quality of everything by necessity, because you have to throttle back, goes way back. And now the question becomes, are you truly living or are you doing? And there's several quotes that have come up to me so far. Dr. Wayne Dyer years ago said, if I do, then I am. If I don't, then I'm not. If you're constantly doing, then you're getting away maybe from who you really are, and you don't even have the opportunity to see that or to enrich your life or your other people's lives as well. And to me, the egoic mind or voice always speaks in shoulda, woulda, coulda, or shoulds all over you. And if you're being shoulded all over, it's very important, or it's a great thing for your heart. You pause and say, wait a second. Did the SH word just come up? Hold on. That's what you're talking about.
Well, we did come from a consciousness that we've learned from our grandparents and these kind of older generations that the ultimate goal of life is what you do. Just pick a partner, get the house, work at the factory, and retire. There's not a lot of the American dream is to find out the truth of what you are, to heal deep lies in your body. The American dream isn't to connect to the now completely until the doer is transcended. Like life really taught us that we are what we do. In fact, people, even when they meditate, say, "What do I do?" It's like it's being done. Just listen.
When I met Jessica, we were attending. We weren't regular members, but we attended the Shambhala Center in Boulder, Colorado. And no deference to the Shambhala Center; it's a beautiful place. But there were these different levels of meditators, and the ego is really easy for the egoic mind to all of a sudden want to gamify that meditation so that you can prove yourself worthy.
What's so funny is I did a sketch 9 years ago that they can find on YouTube if you type in Kyle Cease and then type in the Meditation Olympics.
That's
And
what I'm talking about.
it's a sketch that is people like competing to meditate, and it's really funny. It's just, I mean, if meditation is anything, it's the opposite of competition. So it's so funny to see people, trying to get there and against other people with a clock going in a screaming stadium.
Well, forgive me. I've got to check out the skit. It makes me think of yoga and Yogananda when he came over, and how it was a practice. And this is not picking on anybody. I'm big into sport. I get it, but it was a practice to help you to meditate, and now it's become something very different than that, something beautiful, but that element isn't there in it always. How do I get myself out of trouble? I feel like I'm in trouble with this question here, because without judgment, it's just easy to get stuck in the doing, the striving, the scoring. Heck, when I was a cyclist trying to make it to a pro, you had to go from a category 5 to a category 4. Now I'm a category 4. I made it. No, wait, I'm only a category 4. I'm not worthy. Okay, I got to try to get to a category 3. I'm at a category 3. No, still not worthy. I'm a category 2. Still not worthy. I've got my pro license. Nope, nope. Have you won the big race? Have you won it 3 times? Nope, you're still not worthy. There ain't a damn thing out here, is there, that can make us worthy?
Right. Because it's so arbitrary to decide that any outcome is when you finally become worthy. And that sentence alone implies there's a deep belief of unworthiness 24/7. Like to say then I'm worthy means I'm not now. So we are addicted to being not now worthy so that we can have permission to constantly strive. But you could also just enjoy the journey of moving towards something out of curiosity and expansion and realize you're worthy the whole time. And it absolutely, this is going to sound weird because you can still do it, but it absolutely doesn't matter if you achieve it or not. Like, I was a New York Times bestselling author, and the second we got New York Times, I was blown away by how much it didn't matter, how much it didn't do anything. In fact, there was almost a sadness 2 minutes after it. It was like, we did it, and like, that's it. This is it. It's a constant chase, and it's weird because I feel like if you just allow yourself to receive the now, you'll be shocked at how much more can be done through you. But your ego doesn't feel like it has to be the one that achieved it. You actually work with God, and the universe will make things happen that are way bigger than what your ego saw. But the ego wants to be the one that achieved it, so it sits there and goes, it's only my way. Now let me give you an example of how the universe wants to do a better thing for you than what your thing is. I want to give you a great example I have now. um, very often, sometimes I can be like, how can I build my company? I think that's a thing a lot of entrepreneurs think. And I just noticed a part of me that had ideas and little strategies and stuff like that. And then I just decided one day to completely listen to silence for 2 hours. And I listened to silence. And at one point, a funny sketch that I would have thought is irrelevant to work, but I just like to shoot a funny sketch because I like to do it sometimes. I had this idea of how do enlightened people road rage? Like if I took a people
I
self-aware,
send love.
yeah, yeah, kind of like they're yelling at each other, fighting over a parking spot, but they're also aware. So they're like owning their problems. And like, so I had this glimpse come through and I called a few friends and said, can we shoot this thing? And here's something funny. I was in Sedona at the time. I called friends in Austin. I said, let's shoot the sketch. I went to Austin, shot it. The sketch ended up being maybe an hour to 2 hours that was so fun to shoot. Then a little post production of having so much fun playfully editing it. I also recently made a bundle of long form meditations. That's some of the best work I've ever done, right? And I decided to make the whole bundle $20 because I truly believe stop making hurdles from people from coming to you. Don't make it expensive. Like I had people telling me, dude, that bundle's worth a lot. I was like, I'm making it $20, right? So I made the bundle $20. We put out the sketch. I mentioned the bundle at the end of the sketch. So it shows this road rage sketch. And at the very end, it says, with more self awareness, everything would be really different. Meditate, Kyle Cease meditation bundle. If you go on my Instagram right now, which is Evolving Out Loud, you can see that sketch is at 3.5 million views.
Oh my God.
3.5 million views. And so the mainstream got to see a hilarious example of spirituality, but presented in a mainstream way that makes it totally understandable and not in our little spiritual bubble. And then I watched as the meditation bundle sold one after the other, after the other, after the other. They, just for everyone watching, you can get it at kylecease.com/meditations. We've sold thousands and thousands and thousands of them, and people say it's changing their life. It's really, really awesome. And it's like a 45-minute to an hour meditation on loneliness, health, relationships, one just for releasing, and a general meditation for if you're going into something high pressure. This was so easy to make, and it's so valuable. And this was a idea that came through meditation the second I let go of how do I build my company. The second I let go of how do I build my company, it goes, now that you've let go of your plan to build the company, a funny idea, and oh, it's going to reach. I mean, there's now the sketch comes through and there's Russian translation and European translation and different people. I'm sitting here watching myself and Amber, my fiance, with a man in Russian dubbing over her voice. I started just getting that like it's got better ways. My ego cannot make anything bigger, but it would like me to surrender to it because it can do things a billion times bigger.
How does that fall in? Of course, I've got to go check this out. How does that fall in with there seems to be a resurgence of excitement for the term manifestation? And I used to actually, my neck used to snap back at the concept of manifestation being that it is what I need, what I want. But is there a higher level energetic game here where you're manifesting something greater? For instance, I'm into angel numbers. Angel number 7 means you'll be blessed. Angel number 8 to me, and on my car, the license plate is woohoo 8. The 8 stands for the or something better. The infinite of the universe turned on its side. You're allowing in manifesting in that way.
Yes. Well, what you can see for yourself will still have limitations because you'll include your history. And even if you're major motivated or a vibration person, you're still going to bring in, okay, what does Kyle need? What would the highest thing Kyle wants be? And if it's anything that's in the 3D world, meaning an outcome, a money, a specific thing or whatever, then I'm actually still attached to that world. I think that as you go up, this is kind of a David Hawkinsy thing, but you get more fascinated by the field than the content of the field. And the more you go up, you start to just want to connect to the space that's here. It's a really interesting thing. This space is here right now, and it's very peaceful. And almost all of us are used to avoiding the peace that's in the room and having a war going on in your head and picking and choosing a circumstance that you can keep feeling that war and resisting the fact that you are held by a peaceful space in most cases. And we are avoiding peace to keep the continuing of our childhood, which was a chaotic childhood for most people, going because we think that's what we are. And so the more we go, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to be here, I'm going to receive the peace, the more you actually truly move up in vibration, not egoically chase up. That's actually not going up. And the higher you go up and the more you transcend shame and guilt and fear and regret and things that actually were what you identified yourself as a child, because that's how the family was, the more you transcend those things, the more you can receive way higher things. But the weird thing is those things that come into your life, they don't complete you anymore. They're not exciting. They're normal. We want to get to a point where we're not going, I can't believe it happened, because we're really saying, I don't believe in this. If we actually get to a place where it's normal that 10 million came in, it's normal that the career is more amazing, it's normal that the world is changing, it's normal that that person sees me even when I didn't need them to. The ego loves so much to have an outcome, but it's all an outcome based on resistance. I need to manifest this money, so I'm not a failure as a child, right?
It also means that if something came to you easily, then it's not worth it. It's not valued as much. If suddenly you're happy and the happiness came without you having to drive and push and strive, did you really earn it?
Yes, that's the trick of the ego, is that it only earned it if it feels like crap and is exhausted and fought really hard for it. But it came into your life, and the peace is in your life. The question is, are you receiving it? And yes, it came into your life. People, I know people, a great example is money on this, because so many people, they go, I'm not worth anything because I didn't, strive to make a check. But, whatever, my partner gave me money, or I inherited money, or I found it. And it's like, well, then it's in your field. It's as earned as if you worked hourly for it. And people don't understand that, like, you're dismissing what God's giving you because your ego has decided it's only when I've pushed and exhausted myself that I deserve something. And this is so arbitrary and ridiculous, because you're literally surrounded by peace most of the time, and we don't receive it. And so our job is to receive all that is, and receive that you're healed. People will fight and want to prove they're not. And people will want to prove, and because the ego goes, no, I fix healing, but it's fired if you're healed. So it never will receive that you're healed.
Decades ago, 15 years ago, got the bestseller Barefoot Running. Jessica and I are traveling around the world teaching people how to come out of their shoes and blobbity blobbity. And you'd meet people at these clinics and they'd say, well, I can't do that because I have plantar fasciitis. And you explain how it works. Or I have a bad knee, and then you explain how it works. I have a bad hip, and you explain how it works. And obviously, we're not doctors. We don't blame on TV. But what would happen is people would actually get upset if you played with their definition of themselves. The definition is not, I have weak feet. I am weak feet. I am bad knees. I am not abundant. I am no free time, always busy. And if you dare mess with that, their egos, nothing wrong with them. I've done it myself. When we mess with our self-identification of having to struggle, things get really interesting very fast.
Yeah, it's very offensive to people who have those shirts that say the struggle is real. If I go, it isn't though. Like, I think we just fight for it because we feel significant for saying that. But you might not realize that your struggler is in the way of receiving effortlessness. And I'm not denying at all that different people have different challenges, and people can say to me, Kyle, that's easy for you because you don't know my story. I understand that. But the problem is there's more of a defense of the limitation in the story than the truth of what they are. And what I believe is, no matter how bad your situation or your past is, it's not as powerful as what you are. So it's only a struggle up against the egoic false self that is trying to die in this time.
The egoic false self that is trying, please explain more, trying to die during this time.
Yeah. So, well, you had a protective mechanism to not feel trauma as a kid, right? So, but then we call that us. So here we are, kids, something happens that's scary. Dad yells at you, whatever. So the character that we create to not feel that again, right, is now named us. And so we can feel like we don't have to feel our shame and our guilt as long as we keep being this false self that achieves or people pleases or holds everyone else up or whatever. Well, do you notice it's not working now? Do you notice a lot of force isn't working? Do you notice trying to get people to like you isn't working? Do you notice constant force and effort isn't working? That's because you unconsciously have actually accessed a deeper connection to the now that is a field that is so much more expansive than the small self that you've created to protect yourself when you were a child. So, right now, a lot of people are feeling panic attacks, anxiety, constant pain. What am I going to do? The only one asking is the false self, right? And its question is usually, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. It's always about do, and it's always about past and future. And it never talks about what's here. If you want to heal it, start going, what's here? And then you can be like, there's fear, there's anxiety, there's I don't know, there's I'm not loved. And then you allow that. You're allowed to be here because we're on this planet to learn love. And if we understand, we've learned to love people that we have things in common with, and we've learned to love positive feelings. But have we learned to love our shame? Have we learned to love our guilt? Have we learned to love our regret? That have we learned to love our bad side, our right, our narcissist inside, our have we learned to love that? Because we're enslaved to it until we do.
Thank you for sharing. So I mentioned off air beforehand, both of my parents are going through memory challenges at the moment. And what's interesting is my mom recently hit what I call the bliss zone. It was the place where you're not really thinking about what just took place because functionally that's not where you're at. And so you're in this sweet spot in the moment. It's interesting. She then progressed past that sweet spot to where all of the wounds from childhood, or more specifically, all of the protective mechanism, all of the things that the egoic mind built to protect her, came back up to actually shut up. All of her protective systems came up to blow stuff up, in a sense to prove she was not worthy, but actually it's gone beautifully one step further to where she's actually having to finally let go of it all.
Yep. My mom went through a similar thing too. In the last few months of my mom's life, she was in a hospital and at times would start to say, kind of almost like someone dreaming out loud, random things from the past, you know, deep, dark feelings. It's almost like I was watching the body just spit up everything. It was almost like, hey, before you pass away, let's get all the stuff that's stored in your body out. And so, I mean, she was kind of saying things and then going off on tangents and saying surprising things and what might have sounded like secrets and all kinds of stuff. And it was like she was just like energetically, her body and her field was just purging stuff that was stuck to her that she doesn't need. I also think, I don't know what you'll think of this, but in honor of your parents and people with Alzheimer's, I think memory is unbelievably overrated. I think people are like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm losing my memory. And it's like, yeah, that's because there's a lot of things here and you don't need to hold what happened
It's the
20 years
bliss zone right here.
Right. Like kids aren't full of a memory of a lifetime. And so they're free. There is a blank canvas here. And there's this thing that acts like we're supposed to have another memory and another one and remember every single thing. And it's like there's only so much your field can handle. And the more you do this inner work and meditate, the more you don't even care about holding on to memories. And you start to realize I just care about the now. I don't need a scrapbook. I don't need the past. I took my mom's ashes and dumped them down a river, and it was like the most freeing thing ever. I was like, I don't need to carry my mom's ashes because this isn't her. Right. Like, and I just dumped it down a river and there were people swimming at the bottom. So I watched them just swim through my mom for a minute. But
Only a
I,
comedian, Kyle.
the true story. I was like, oh, sorry, everyone. But like, I'm like, why am I holding this? I don't need to hold the physical. And I don't even need to constantly remember all the memories with my mom because I'm now, and my mom is in an invisible realm. She's not in the physical. I don't have to hold all her clothes and her stuff and her pictures. Some stuff maybe, but like I could connect with her much more free of holding on to all of the physical, even holding on to her physical ashes. I could probably receive her more. And the day I dumped her ashes, I felt a freedom that was so amazing. And a lot of synchronicities happened that day
Well,
too.
you use the term, you don't say let go, you don't say release. You use the actual very specific term dump, which
Yeah.
implies letting go of a very heavy burden. You've
Yeah.
dumped it out.
We are so attached to holding on, and it is so overrated. And you don't need to hold a lot of things. You don't need to hold your friends, because if you just love them and appreciate them and be yourself, the right ones will stay. You don't have to hold them and stop them from going. You don't have to hold on to things because it won't go with you when you die. You don't have to, it's so funny. I sometimes go through this, but I think to myself about how many gigs as a stand-up comedian I did in the past that weren't recorded. And I realized, well, they're here. And then even many of those memories go. And it's like, that's the truth about life. That I at one point won't even be a memory on this planet. But and that's why we're so here to love fully. The ego goes, I'm scared I'll lose you, so I won't love fully. I say, I know I'll lose you, so I love fully. I know that all this is temporary. I know that my daughter and my time is temporary. So why wouldn't I love her fully? Well, my time with Amber, my fiance, is temporary. Why wouldn't I love her fully? Right? Like the in your soul, you can love fully because everything's temporary. And you don't need to hold a thing that isn't here now to miss out on the now because of a memory you had in the past.
It also has to do with when we go back to manifestation, and there's a big term that comes up, which is life path or life plan. And I think it's great to follow this pull and tug in your heart. You actually have some interesting videos about that, about getting to the root of what's going on there. However, we can get too wrapped up, sort of like saying, I'm a level 5 meditator. We can get wrapped up in, I have to find my path, my plan, my purpose, or I'm not living my greatest life. So going back to Wayne Dyerism that I no longer subscribe to, and I love you, Wayne. Another Wayne Dyerism was that I don't want to die with the music still inside.
I feel you too.
And
There's a shadow to that now.
say that again.
Well, there's a major shadow to that now. That was actually a great sentence for that time. I think that was actually perfect for the time it was in. Don't die with your music left in you. Definitely get your voice out. But let me tell you the shadow 20 years later to that. The amount of one-on-ones that I end up doing for people who are now scared that they're wasting their life and are feeling guilty that they didn't push a book out or do the right work is staggering. And the real shadow is this constant belief. This will sound very controversial probably, but there's a belief that you can waste your life. And I understand that, we choose to do things that feel more adventurous than watch TV all day. I don't mean that, but at the same time, you're now not doing something because it calls to you. You're doing something out of fear, the fear of wasting your life. And now you have a God that isn't working through your callings or your heart, is working through this kind of arbitrary should assignment that you're giving yourself. And you're sitting here feeling guilty that you didn't do what you're supposed to do, which is arbitrary. No one said what you're supposed to do. And when we're constantly seeking for this arbitrary purpose, what we're really saying is, F you, God. My existence isn't purpose. You creating me wasn't in purpose. I don't matter until I've ascribed the right arbitrary assignment that I am this job, or I sold these books, or I offered whatever. And do those things, like do what you want to do, but don't do it out of, I'm scared to waste my life, because it won't be your heart or your calling, and it won't be vibrationally powerful. It's just, don't feel guilt that's writing the book or starting the business. So let's move from a God that's out there and mad at you and saying you better not waste your life, to what's my heart feel, because that's also God. What do I want? What do I want to experience? What do I want to feel? Right?
I love it. And the words of my dad are coming to me right now, which aren't even his dad, and aren't my dad's. They aren't his dad, probably not his dad. But if you actually sat him down on a couch and had him not doing anything, he'd say, I feel like a bum.
Yeah. All laziness is rest judged,
Thank you.
right? It's just rest, which you need, but you're judging it. So it's not rest well spent. It's just rest resisted while you're resting.
Which ain't restful if you
Yeah.
think about it.
So it's the worst way because it's just, you can either do something or rest. But the worst is to rest and sit here and say, I shouldn't be doing that. Right. And so that's what laziness is, the judgment of the rest that you actually need.
I love it. So, all right, we get to wind things down here. And I know you've got a big trip coming up tomorrow. How do you balance your doings with your non-doings? Kyle sees particularly right now.
Yeah, more and more, the main doing that I like is the highest doing I know is listening to the now. It really is. And a lot of times inspired ideas and callings happen. They're almost always a dimensional shift. There's something that you didn't know you could do, or it's something that almost paradigm busts the idea of I can't do that or whatever. So the more I listen, the more it'll give me the next step or just its own healing or even the feeling you don't have to do anything, just be, and a lot will happen for you. It's still the outside changes too. But I like the idea mostly of when I'm doing, it's something that feels new, like expansive, like more effortless and more fun. And so if it's like I have to do it, and I don't mean that never happens. There still are some times like, okay, I have to do that. But like, if it's from I have to, I'm working more and more on saying no because it's literally an egoic construct saying I'm scared I'll die if this doesn't get done. And what's a much higher frequency is to become a space of love for it and say you're allowed to die in my body to that pattern because it's okay if it falls apart. It's okay if you do it wrong. It's okay if they don't all get it. It's okay. Whatever you finally let go of, you're saying, God, could you take this? When there's an ego that goes, I got to hold everyone up, and it's implying God doesn't. So you feel responsible for your mother-in-law understanding you, or your friends getting you, or whatever. When you finally let go of it, the 5-year-old you who was trying to save your life finally isn't the one running this. And so the second you let it fall apart inside, usually God takes it amazingly on the outside.
Woohoo! I'm looking at the water behind me and I'm thinking of not that 5-year-old kid, but I'm the 5-year-old kid that is pure joy and pure excitement and pure everything, joie de vivre. The water outside is getting really cold. We've had this interesting cold spell in the Northeast. And the last swim I did was almost 10 degrees colder, the water, than only a few days before that. And the water will be even colder still tomorrow. It'll be 40 some odd degree water. And I don't need to do it. I'm going to be in pretty good shape if I don't swim. There is this excitement, this joyous excitement. This is, let's go play. It could be messy. You could go in for 10 seconds and go, and get out. But it just feels like it's going to be fun. And to me, if you focus on that, it's just going to feel like it's going to be fun. All of a sudden, you find yourself in an Austin. You find yourself someplace completely unexpected. The doors open up. And it's messy and it's ugly and it's beautiful.
Well, and I didn't even you just brought up something I didn't even remember to mention. That guided meditation I did inside said shoot that sketch in Austin. We went to Austin and I looked around and I was like, I want to live here. So it didn't only have an incredible next step for my business and a sketch that went around the world, but it actually was a reminder and like, I think it's time we move. And all of a sudden now I'm surrounded we've only been here 2 weeks and I am surrounded by support and excitement and success. And, there's been a desire, this sounds funny to say, but I've been very fascinated by my masculine side because I have very often held a lot of space and feel a lot and have a probably 80% female audience. And I feel like part of that is that I've had a lifelong goal of awakening my mom to how free she could be. And so I get really good. And a lot of my audience has a feeling of my mom in a way. But I've never really known what I am without that. And so the next level of excitement for me is to tap into that. But the funny thing is the meditation included the next place I was going to live. This is why you would think, oh, meditate 2 hours. I got a business to run. That's just, it's like, nope, it had different dimension level, next place I'm going to live, ways that I wasn't considering, joyful sketch that was so fun to shoot, and thousands of meditation bundles selling.
I love it. And for myself, part of my meditation, not to take away from that, because I'm a lifelong meditator and automatic writing and blah, 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 is in the water, you ain't thinking. And the ideas come when you're that fish or whatever it is that puts you in that sacred space. It gives you the next level ideas that you never, ever could have come up with even remotely. I spoke to you last year. You weren't going, yeah, I'm thinking we're going to go to, no, this was, I know you just, whew.
I thought it was Sedona for a long time, but then at one point I realized I'd like a restaurant to be open past 3 o'clock, and I want to buy a shirt without driving an hour. So it's time to move.
I love it. So last thought on the masculine, then give me the link one more time. Have you thought about getting back in the gym?
Oh yeah, I work out every day right now.
I mean, putting on some muscle. When you talk about the masculine side of things, there's something really interesting about getting back into that body.
I have been surrounded by jacked men lately. I mean, it's so funny. I just asked to tap into my mat. So it's so funny. I was like, I said to Amber, I really want to tap into this masculine side. We move here and I'm about to get a new studio built. The guys that are building my studio, one of them completely helped develop like David Goggins and people that are really shredded dudes. And this guy's just as shredded. And they built studios for Rogan and all these other people. And I've just noticed this bumping into really strong guys and, learning about how they lift and their nutritions and even thinking about TRT and things like that. And really interested in that. There's 3 jujitsu locations near where I, and I'm just like, yeah, there's also a me that's wanting more structure, wanting more direction, wanting more, I don't know, discipline in my flow, because I move so in flow, but I'd like to almost contain my flow and harness it and take it to a new dimension. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that, and it's so interesting how much more connected. It's ironic because I feel more connected leaving Sedona, which I never thought I'd say, but it's so served a purpose. I'm not dogging it there, but like I think to me, true spirituality is you getting closer and closer to your true essence, and your essence beyond what you were conditioned to be or your survival mechanisms. And I think there's been a me that's had a softness and almost a fear and like I'm gonna hear people so I'm safe. And I don't know. I find that something births in me every time I take a jujitsu class.
I love it. Where can people go to find out more, to find the meditations, to find all that you have to offer, Kyle, and your YouTube show?
So we are in our 8th year of our membership site that was called the Absolutely Everything Pass. We've now changed the name of it to Infinite Expansion. They can go to kylecease.com/everything to get that. If they want to see me doing live calls Wednesday, doing Q&A, Sunday guided meditations, they can also go to kylecease.com/meditations to get the meditation bundle. It's so awesome. It'll change your life. And what I love about it is it's not just a bunch of content. You're doing it too. So I'm offering a meditation, but you're meditating. So it's a great way to stay in the meditation, have a lot of revelations and release, cry your eyes out, go to a new frequency and heal. So go to kylecease.com/everything or kylecease.com/meditations. And if they can't find it, just go to kylecease.com. And I also doing a ton of one-on-ones lately too. So if they want to do one-on-ones, they can go to kylecease.com/55 minutes.
Amen, brother. Any last words that you want to share with people?
Oh man, everything's perfect, and decide to prove me right. Like stop looking for the proof that it's not. Start looking for the proof everything's perfect. Let that in, and it will help you heal the lie that everything's not. Let it disintegrate the energy you're carrying that thrives off of finding problems so it can overcome them. Instead, receive everything's okay and watch life get much more effortless.
How does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? Okay, so for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get the heck out of your own way. And you will play at the higher level, but guess what? You're already there. You're already there. You're already there. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! Woohoo! Oh, we've got an arm and a half from the other side. We got the muscles going. I'm liking it. There we go. Wow, wow, wow. This is the energy that I want us all to bathe in. In fact, that's why I have our School of Mystics to help you bring that energy up while grounding you into your body and grounding you into the earth from a higher level perspective, all while fully experiencing the now and embodying every beautiful thing that life has to offer. On that note, if you want to join the School of Mystics 4 Wednesdays each month, it has teachings, it has attunements, it brings your energy up. There's clearings, group intention meditations, and more. Simply click that link down below. If you simply want to bring your energy up, 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 way up on a daily basis for free. dailywoohoo.com. That's our newsletter, dailywoohoo, WOOHOO.com. And if you want to learn how to communicate with the other side, with your angels, with your guides, with your pets that have transitioned, with your loved ones that have transitioned, come on over to automaticwriting.com. Live classes each and every month, plus a video-based program so you could literally be starting it tomorrow. That's automaticwriting.com. Here's a link. I'll have that same challenge with this new mic. Here's a link to the next amazing show. Love you so, so much. Keep on shining bright. Woohoo! How does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? I send love. I send you love. I send even more love your way. And thank you, everyone.